end of the day, maybe you're trying to get a job that really ain't gonna ever pay you anything. So let's get that out the way first. Next thing you know, the good old saying that my grandmother used to say was, when they show you who you are, baby, believe them. Anyhow, we didn't even get that far because we talking about my mistakes, right? So let's get back. Don't do it, y'all. Don't do it. You a black girl, so go find more black girls. That was just crazy to me. I just knew right there my time was limited at that place. Y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Hey HR. Hey y'all, listen, I gotta tell y'all about some mistakes your girl made. Like the dumbest things I wish I could truly like take back in my career. There's just times that I step back now in my career, now that I'm, you know, over a decade and working in human resources, already worked in 4 or 5 different industries, you know, already experienced being at multiple levels in HR, doing all types of work from all angles of HR, that I'm just like, damn, man, if I could do that again, I sure wouldn't do that no more. Like, I would just do it so differently. Like, I just missed out on quite a few things, and it's literally because I didn't have like a YouTube channel I could watch like you guys do. I didn't have, you know, a parent I could talk to say, hey, how do I do this in my career? I didn't get like a mentor in my career. I literally just like did research in every way I can. Google was my friend, you know, and I just used my personality, used my knowledge, used my experiences as I gather them to try to figure things out. So if I could just do it all over again, there's just some things I wouldn't do. So if you guys want to know 3 of my dumbest mistakes I made in human resources, man, please keep watching. So the first mistake that I wish I had not done is accepting the lower pay that I'm worth. Like, I've done that. So I think early on in my career when I first started, particularly my very first HR job, I was like, okay, cool. Like, I knew I was going to get paid less than I was making before. So I was doing government contracting as a technical writer before, and I was super duper young. I was like mid-20s or whatever, and I was making like, you know, $40,000 or so doing technical recruiting, and I was trying so hard to get into human resources because working in government contracting, I gotten laid off, had spent 6 months trying to find a job. So I was not employed for 6 full months. Was in school trying to get my master's degree in not only my MBA but also in human resources. I went to several different interviews to continue government contracting, and I was like, if this ain't working out, then this is the Lord giving me a sign to start my career. So I had a feeling I was going to go for less money. Didn't know I was going to go from making $20 an hour full-time to making $12 and some change part-time. So that was a big adjustment. Did that for another 6 months. So now for that, I feel like that was worth it. Because not only did they see my worth and they made me full-time, then they increased my pay. That job did me well. I have no problem in saying town of Somerville, my very first human resources job, like, they saw my worth and they appreciated it. They did what they could do. Like, they didn't have a big budget to give a lot of people big salaries, so they did what they could do, and I appreciated that. Like, my city administrator looked out for me, where she just truly always acknowledged my work. I mean, Lisa, if you watch any of my videos, just comment down below and let me know you see this. But she really like appreciated it. So did my director, so did our finance group. That was like truly a family for me, and still is. Other places that I went to, I'm like so eager to get started, because I mean, I'll say my job after that, City of Goose Creek, was the same too. When I worked in local government, I don't feel like I was ever treated in a way that I was like, damn, I wish I could take that back, you know? But going in the private sector, I'm like, man, I just messed myself over. Like, why did I accept that? And it's not every single job. I mean, I'm not going to go through and call the rest of them because, you know, people get in their feelings and stuff. But I will say that there's been some times throughout my career where I just accepted money less than what I'm worth. So how do you know what you're worth? Because y'all always hear me say,
get what you're worth, get what you're worth.
First thing you want to do is you want to research the salaries. Go to salary.com, check with some staffing agencies. A lot of times like Apple One, and I think that's a national one that so many people can use, but there's so many different staffing agencies that have great information. Check with like ADP, like HRS systems, they usually have a lot of good resources too. Obviously, you want to check on the Department of Labor's website. That gets really, really, really detailed, so that can be a bit overwhelming. Check around on Indeed. Look at the jobs that are posting that are still your same job title, and look and see, like, is another company offering way more for the same duties? Like, look at the duties, compare them. But do your research and make sure you know what salary is out there that you can negotiate for. So that's one good thing. Because at the end of the day, maybe you're trying to get a job that really ain't gonna ever pay you anything. So let's get that out the way first. Next thing I tell you to do to combat what I did is make sure that you sit down and do a budget. Like, do a budget. Know how much it takes to run your house. Know how much your expenses are. Know how much you have that are like miscellaneous one time a year costs, or maybe costs that could pop up. Estimate some savings, you know, for car emergencies, or your kid is in college or whatever. Make sure that you know baseline, this is the least I can make, and now for these emergencies, this is where else I need to make, and give yourself a little cushion room. That was the first thing that helped me really know how much to negotiate my salary for, because honestly, like, after I had a budget, I knew for sure, no, $300 a week, just throwing out a random ass number, because Lord knows I would not take $300 a week. But $300 a week. If I was making that, I knew that couldn't take care of my house. Not only could that not take care of my house bills, that couldn't help me eat, that couldn't help me keep the lights on. Like, okay, so that can't help me do none of that. You know what else it can't help me do? I can go out there and do the things I want to do. I know that I like going out to brunch with my girlfriends. I know that I like hanging out and traveling every once in a while. I know that there are things that I like to do. I know there's a lifestyle that I prefer. So I know it can't help me get that. I ain't looking at that job offer, right? So not only are you going to research the salaries, but research different industries. Y'all, I can't tell y'all how many times that I have seen a job that is exactly the same, but just in a different industry. And it pays way more or way less. You know, you got to look at industries. So industries pay differently too. Anyhow, we ain't even getting that far because we talking about my mistakes, right? So let's get back. So network. Make sure that you gain trust with others, because I can't tell you how many times when I first started my career, whoever has been talking to me about a job will come out and tell me, well, this is the range, so make sure you stay within there. Like, when you network and people know that type of information, they'll share it with you. Gain that trust with them, because that will help you to avoid accepting less than your worth. Like I did. Don't do it, y'all. Don't do it. So the next big dumb mistake that I made was, and I did this actually, I want to say I did this twice. I definitely did it once. I accepted a job that I didn't apply for. But for this company, I applied for HR manager job. I interviewed for an HR manager job. I accepted an HR generalist job. Okay, yeah, it was paying more than I was making, right? So I was happy about that. I was like, okay, cool. But at the end of the day, I applied for an HR manager job. Can y'all believe that after I accepted that job, I still end up being their HR manager? Like, still doing all the HR manager duties. And then watch them go outside, hire an HR manager, pay her more than me. And then luckily she did know the job, so it wasn't very much I had to do with her. I will say that was a good thing. But I mean, it was still internal information she needed to get from me. And then she came in and raised hell. Like, she was so upset because she was not a personal person. I don't know why she worked in HR and still do. But she needed to stop working in HR because she just is not a people person. So she got upset because everybody want to talk to me. Everybody want to ask me questions. Well, I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert. I don't mind for talking to people, and she just gave me hell. I walked off that damn job. But I will say that they did promote me to assistant HR manager. So that was cool that I got promoted to assistant HR manager when they brought her in. And obviously I got a pay increase. And I guess you can call it a pay increase. They didn't know much. So they had actually hired me to be hourly. And it was so much work to do that I made stupid overtime the whole time. Like, I had never seen a regular paycheck. So when they made me salary, I did kind of like, okay, you got a manager. I'm going to ease back on the job. Plus, I was on a set salary, so it was like, okay, well, ain't like I'm going to see it in my paycheck. But don't do that, y'all. Do not accept a job if you didn't apply for it. I mean, unless you're comfortable with it. I realized that was a bad thing for me. And I mean, maybe it's okay to accept one if you're not going to be expected to do the duties. Because that happened for me. Like, I applied for HR manager job. You made me a generalist, but you still had me being an HR manager. Man, that's the stupidest thing I ever done. I ain't doing that no more. So how you going to make sure to avoid doing what I did is make sure you read that job description and you stick to it. Next thing you want to do is make sure that you only agree to the pay that was offered to you, or that you have it in writing if it should change. That happened with me too. Whole other company. talked with the HR director who was leaving about the salary, not mention it in email. We talked about it over the phone. Now my boss want to be like,
oh, I didn't know anything about that.
well, luckily I put on my job application like, hey, this is the minimum I'm accepting. And me and the HR director talked about a little bit less than that. But it was still higher than I was making. It just was a bad taste in my mouth that I have to ask for it. Like, I worked my ass off. Give it to me. So you guys don't want to do that either. If you know you already accepted a job, you already accepted a pay, get it all in writing so that you can make sure that 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, everybody on the same page. Every time I seem to do these 3 videos of the things I wish I knew or whatever, I always wait till the last one and then it's like off the chain. So I feel bad about it being this, but it's the truth. The last dumbest thing I've ever done that I can think of, because I'm pretty sure I done did other dumb things in my career, but the biggest dumbest thing, or the last biggest dumbest thing that I've done was like experiencing or receiving disparate treatment and not like making a change from it. Generations before us accepted disparate treatment so much, and our generation is the first one that's really combating against it. That is a weird place to be in, because you know, millennials and on, we're not accepting that disparate treatment. But it was difficult to talk about it who's been in a company for a while and they're a baby boomer, because at the end of the day they're like, girl, you better be happy you got a job. And girl, that's what they always gonna do. And I just wasn't down with living with that. So it really eat at me in the inside more than anything. But it still bugs me that I didn't do something about it over time. The good old saying that my grandmother used to say was, when they show you who you are, baby, believe them. I really tried to cushion why folks felt the way they were, why they had an idea the way they were, instead of just believing like that's just who you are. Like, there's no reasoning for it, that's just who you are. It really kind of bugs me that over time there are times that I've seen disparate treatment and I haven't done it. If y'all want to know some of the times I'm talking about, then I definitely talked about it in this video where I talked about the person of color and the non-person of color receiving the same job at the pay rates or whatever. It was during the Black Lives Matter movement and George Floyd's death that a lot was going on. When the Black Lives Matter movement like first started up, it was roaring during the quarantine, and there was a lot going on around the world where it was really crazy to me, because my CEO, as cool as I was with him, it really floored me that he was like really aggressively pushing for me to do this diversity recruiting. The part that made me pause on it is because, you know, we were so comfortable. He kind of told me what he was looking for in this diversity recruiting, and it was just like, you're a black girl, so go find more black girls. And that just killed me. I mean, if y'all follow me on LinkedIn, I just posted what my current company had me do a 6-hour training on diversity, and I appreciated it. I learned so much that I didn't know, but I knew one thing for sure is that just getting more black people in the office was not going to be diverse enough. You know, I said to him, because he could tell I was pushing back, and he was like, what's going on? Why aren't you pushing for it? And I said, well, I got 2 questions for you. And my very first question was, if someone asked what we did for Black Lives Matter movement, what should I tell them? And he said, oh, you can tell them that we decided to remain neutral. Well, that killed me, because I thought to myself, if we remain neutral, then we're saying that everything that's going on in the world, oh, we don't see it. And that to me was just mind-boggling, and it really irritated me. It just shows a lack of diversity, in my opinion. It just showed that we had no idea what diversity was. Like, we're ignoring that people's husbands, sons, nephews, brothers, fathers are dying at the hands of the law. Like, that to me was crazy. And I couldn't see myself as a black person, like, telling another black person that. That was just crazy to me. I just knew right there my time was limited at that place. But I was so upset, mainly because I probably could have done more to combat it. I do feel like I started making changes against kind of some of the things that were happening against black folks in the office. But they had done so many different things in that office that I was just like, I'm just not supporting it anymore. And I feel like that, for me at that time, was the biggest thing I could have done. Because the sad thing about it is, like, so much had happened, and they had already been upset with me, because I would sit there in the conference room and be like, so what are we doing about such and such? So tell me, oh, how are we doing with such and such? And so I started noticing that I wasn't getting calendar invites to these conference room meetings anymore. And I was absolutely cool with it, because I was like, man, this shit for wasting my time, because we're gonna walk out there and don't make no leeway. That's one of the things that I'm like, maybe I should have looked at more of what I could have done. And there are multiple different scenarios that have happened that I'm like, you know what, and those scenarios I could have done something, or I could have done something earlier. You know, I don't feel like I started making a change on how I was reacting to those situations until I was 3-4 years into that organization. So I just feel like that was a dumb mistake. I mean, not really a dumb one, but one that I wish I could have like changed, made different, corrected, whatever. Even at that same organization, I was tasked with being a generalist, and I was forced in the realm of like recruiting, and I was like, this gives me very little time. So if I found myself working crazy hours to try to balance the two, and I was like begging to have my job description revised to show what I'm doing, and so that I can make the money that I should be making, because I knew I wasn't making what I should be making. And all of those different signs was signs that like, hey, you can start combating against this. I mean, there are little things I started doing. I stopped doing so much. I was like, nah, I'm gonna just do what my job description said. That ain't on my job description. That was my favorite line. So I'm pretty sure that led into me getting terminated from there, because I had told y'all about that. I'm gonna need to tell y'all about that one day. How they terminate me while I was on medical leave. After they had a private eye watching me at my house, and got upset because I asked them why they had a private eye watching me. Anyhow, story for another day. But just make sure that you research these companies before you apply. Make sure you have questions for them in the interviews. I will say that that's something I noticed with the company I'm with now. Like, as I'm interviewing folks, I just love the fact that they have questions for me. I love the fact that we invite questions. And I want you to make sure that you're inviting, the company you're applying to is inviting you to ask questions. Because some of the things you want to say are like definitely hitting on disparities. In some ways you can do that without being so obvious as just say, you know, describe your company culture to me. What makes you come to work every day? What gives you the drive every day? Like, if they ain't hitting on culture at some point in them questions, then something ain't right. I hope that this video helped you guys not make the same dumb mistakes I made, because that's the reason, not that I'm doing this video, but that I did this entire channel, because everything in this channel I'm putting out there so that folks can make sure to know how to guide themselves in their career or whatever in a professional workplace. I want you guys to not have to figure it out all by yourselves like I did. I want you to just know how to do it. If anything, if I can be a resource to you, I already been there, done it, knock it out. Why can't I just, you know, help you as well? And so I hope that this video helps you. And at the end of the day, y'all already know that I would really appreciate the love if you just hit the subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, then I thank you so much. If not, then at least hit the like button. Comment down below and tell me some of the dumb mistakes that you've made, or if you think my mistakes weren't actually dumb. But at the end of the day, I just hope to see you guys on my next video.